went through the number of deals, but I would say from my point of view, the amount of activity and just diligence, would you guys agree that it's gone through the roof? I mean, it's very, very busy out there. It takes a while to actually close a deal. So some of these, I think you'll see deal activity probably pick up over time. And this kind of some of the things that we highlight here. And, you know, the bottom one I think is also important is that when Bernanke is bailing out the banks with his 0% interest and they can charge anything on your credit card, it starts, one of the side effects is, you know, if you're a large company sitting on a lot of cash, you're getting, you know, 0.1% on that, deals pencil nicer. You know, if you have to pay $100 million for an asset that's going to launch in 5 years later, well, you may have a significant interest expense in your model. Now that's very, very low. So that's, I'm trying to look for something positive. So I think that could be positive for deals. You know, CEOs, like, we got all this cash, let's do something with it. So I think that's good. I mean, David, do you have any comments along those lines? You seen the same thing on your side?
Yeah, one thing, you know, again, I think was touched on the VC panel, and you may not want to hear that, but it is clearly a buyer's market. And one of the things we as large companies do have, you know, we are blessed with cash. And so we may be a little tougher on the VCs in terms of negotiating deals, but we certainly are interested in building our pipelines.
Yeah, and Tracy,
and then just your comment basically around the level of activity, I think, you know, we've certainly seen a significant upsurge in the amount of companies that we're talking to and looking at data. And from our perspective, getting into CDA is really important because even early on, so we may not ink a deal until we've gotten that level of confidence that we feel comfortable with the amount of risk, but certainly that ability to collaborate and partner sort of through the process. You know, we've gotten to, you know, somebody comes in all the way at the end and you say, gosh, if they only had that one extra piece of data, this would have been a real winner. And if we had had that conversation a year before, we might have been in that position. So it's good for you, it's good for us. So in terms of being able to partner early and have those conversations early, even if the deal takes a while to get down to the end road, it's a worthwhile conversation having. So I think that's why we're seeing a lot of upside in terms of the level of activity, despite the fact that it is a much more complicated and challenging market at the time now.
And Jean-Michel, you know what M&A is all about, right?
Absolutely. I would echo really everything that was just said previously. It's certainly a huge amount of our time that we're spending looking at our future partners. We certainly like to have the discussion early because data mature, and having the discussion so that new companies or startups or different stage of development campaigns understand what the expectation from our side in terms of what we may want to look or the way we approach certain problems allow sometimes to have change in the development plan of those molecules, which translate into a much better fit in terms of what we may expect later on and really smooth the process. Again, there is also a little bit of leachate on the other side where you also you understand really some of the difficulty that we face, and we are willing to share some of that information so that we're really able to have a discussion in mind. And especially at Alcon, where you will find really quickly the scientific team involved very early in that discussion. And we structure an alliance group to be really the window people, but they are really just making sure that the communication flows correctly, and you have immediately access internally to the development team and the people that are in our organization. So it's a very different flavor that you will have.
And you know, some of the lower altitude issues are, you know, big companies, yeah, we have a lot of cash, but we still have P&L constraints. You know, Alcon, I mean, Allergan's supposed to be the always hit your earnings no matter what, and that puts a lot of pressure when you're trying to do deals. Even if you have a lot of cash, it's not that simple, because the accounting rules are changing all the time, and that's affecting M&A, asset purchases, licensing, and you can't just come in and tell your CEO you're going to take 5 cents of dilution starting next quarter. It just doesn't work. So we still have constraints, even though pricing of certain assets is coming down. The other thing that we have that's driving deal values is we have a lot of really good generics coming out. when Xalatan goes generic, that makes doing a deal in glaucoma today very different than doing a deal in the past. It's a very high bar, and reimbursement, you have other pressure. So you can't pick your favorite deal from 5 years ago and benchmark against that. Each deal is going to be built from the ground up typically.